Welcome to Highway to Hell, a supernatural podcast. I'm Christine.
And I'm Kristen.
And today we're talking about Season 4, Episode 5, Monster Movie.
You know, I actually expected you to do a Dracula accent. Welcome to Highway to
later.
Hell.
It's so terrifying.
Oh, man.
So, for anyone who doesn't remember, the IMDb description of this episode is... It's Halloween time, and the Winchesters face off against a shapeshifter with a penchant for impersonating classic movie monsters like Dracula, the Wolfman, and the Mummy.
Okay, I didn't even connect the dots that this might have come out in Halloween.
I didn't either, but that seems obvious now.
It is Oktoberfest.
That too. God, we're so dumb.
I know. But I was thinking like, okay, yeah, Oktoberfest. That's the setting of this, you know, not like Halloween.
Beer and brats.
Yeah. Joss, do you feel the Joss in this movie?
Yeah, I did.
In this movie.
This episode. I did. More so than some of the, obviously any of the others that had a little bit of that touch.
Yeah.
But it still wasn't like, oh, this feels so Joss Whedon.
No, I mean, it had its own, it was definitely going for its own thing. Obviously making fun of all of the Warner Brothers long line of monster movies.
Mm-hmm.
But also like talking about a few other points with the monster movies, like for example, did we get some Ed Wood kind of references in there?
We might have.
Yeah.
We definitely might have. I thought that the guy, Ed, looked a lot like him.
That's true. He had like that mustache.
Yeah, and his name was Ed.
Like a pervert mustache.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah.
Real pervy looking. Weird dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's all I could figure.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed it. I was cracking up through it. It was really fun. I was describing it to John later, and I said it even had kind of the campy old monster movie music where it like matches their reactions to what's going on. Like they're surprised about something, and it's like, it's like,
yeah, it was really good.
So yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah, I really like this episode. It's very funny, and I didn't know this, but I did find that this episode was originally scheduled as the third episode in the season, which answers a lot of my questions.
Interesting.
So it would have been instead of in the beginning. So none of that like time travel, finding out the yellow-eyed demon stuff.
Interesting.
And then finding out about Sam.
Yeah.
I mean that, because watching it, I was like, okay, why is Dean so chill now? He was literally like so pissed at Sam. He punched him twice in the last episode. And now he's just kind of silly, and he's just worried about, coming back, getting back into the groove of things after he's been gone. And he's rehymenated.
Yes. What? He's a virgin?
Yeah.
Dean, I don't know if that's how that works.
I don't know either. I mean, he's a born again Christian, basically. Yeah. So, but no. So the relationship between Sam and Dean was a little different than where we had left it.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so that does make a little more sense. I mean, I guess they kind of tried to fit in like, well, Sam's still more upset about all the big stuff happening, and Dean's just now back to kind of enjoying himself.
Yeah, he just wants to do a regular case.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he's so stoked.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's start talking about it. Unless you have anything else you want to know before.
No.
Okay. So I just looked it up. Air date was October 16th, 2008.
Okay.
Directed by Robert Singer. Created by Eric Kripke, written by Ben Edlund. And I wanted to talk about the two actors who were in it the most too, who were kind of guest actors. We've got Melinda Sward as Jamie. She was in Do-Over and a movie called Wieners, apparently, that had...
Is that the one with the wieners?
Oh, that one.
Yes. I think I know what you're talking about.
There's literally like a hot dog on the cover of it.
I think I saw, not by choice, a little bit of...
Like from Kenan and Kel.
Oh.
It's got Kenan in it.
It's not like a Seth Rogen flick.
I don't know.
Maybe it is.
I didn't
as
see
well.
anybody else
Maybe
in
both
it.
of them.
But
I saw a little bit of Do Over, but not by choice, and I don't recommend it.
it didn't look very good.
It's not great.
Poor girl.
I
So
know.
this is the best thing she's ever done.
Yes,
She was
clearly.
great, actually. I really liked her, so
I
it's a
really
shame
liked
that she
her
didn't do
also.
more if she wanted to.
And I did read that Jamie is apparently named after a fan named Jamie who wrote to Eric Kripke telling him how much she appreciated the show and how it had helped her deal with her ongoing illness.
Oh.
So, yeah, really sweet.
I love that.
I know.
And he's like, okay, Jamie, you're coming into the show.
Yeah.
Ugh,
So I think I read that on Supernatural Wiki, so thanks for that.
cool. So Todd Stashwick is Dracula.
Great.
I loved him.
Great performance. Loved it.
He was so good.
He was really good.
So he's been in a lot. His acting
That's
career
familiar.
is pretty extensive. He's been in Teen Wolf, Gotham, Grey's Anatomy, Justified, CSI Miami, Law and Order, Burn Notice, and way more. I just picked like the big stuff that jumped out at me as
Wow.
like halfway down the list. I
He's
stopped.
definitely a character actor if he's like in
Mhm.
Gotham and stuff.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah, and for all those shows, like he was just in some of them, he was in like 4 or 5 episodes, like kind of recurring, and others he was just in 1 or 2. So yeah, definitely a character actor, and we can see why. Like
Yeah.
he does different characters really well in this episode. Like he went from kind of silly but like well done Dracula to fucking terrifying Buffalo Bill.
Yeah, he
Right?
did. He really did. And also, I just loved every moment that he broke his Dracula character.
Yeah, that he was just himself and just like talking, and I
Right.
was like, whoa.
I think it like the first time he gets punched, and all of a sudden he's like speaking a
Yeah, he's like, damn it.
clearly American accent. It's so good.
Yeah, so I really liked him a lot. That was great.
Yeah.
Todd Stashwick. Did you have anything for production info? I didn't really look into that so much.
No, just the placement of the episode. Again, really weird choice. I wonder if they just wanted to carry the momentum at the beginning of season 4, you know, make it a little bit more fast paced.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that I think we touched on, you know, that we noticed was like, oh, man, we're like getting more and more deep into this.
Yeah. Yeah, so this is kind of the first one we've seen in a while that was just
A one-off.
a filler, sort of.
Yeah, well, because last episode, Metamorphosis, it was a monster episode, Monster of the Week episode, but it wasn't, but it focused a lot on Sam's, you know, issues. And we got that big opening scene of them, like, you know, Dean finding out that Sam has these powers and all of that. So.
Right. So there was some important stuff in there. And there wasn't any in this episode.
Nope.
It was just for funsies.
It was.
Which is cool. Like for a Halloween episode, it's just like, let's just have fun, y'all. You know?
Yeah. And maybe that's why. Maybe because it's like, oh, this is clearly a Halloween episode. We fucked up in writing it before, you know, October.
Yeah. So now it really goes here instead.
Right.
Yeah, that would make sense too.
Mm-hmm.
For music, lots of polka.
I love it. Though.
Lots and lots of polka.
It was great.
Boop, 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 boop.
Yeah, it was fun.
I went to our local Oktoberfest this past season last year. It was so fun. I sent pictures to Kristen of me and my dirndl, which is like that little dress that all us ladies wear around with the apron and everything and the puffy sleeves. So
I wanted
cute.
to buy one in Germany, but I didn't get to. Yeah.
I wouldn't have even thought of that. That's really cute. Well, I got mine on Amazon.
I'll just order it.
And it's really cute too.
Yeah. It is.
I love it. It's actually quite good quality. I was surprised for what I purchased. And I might like to some promo pics or something for this episode. In a dirndl. We'll see. But yeah, so lots of polka. I'm not gonna tell y'all all the polka songs that were in it because it's just polka.
And also the names, can you pronounce them?
No, I can't. But we do get a Bach song.
Yes.
When Ed is playing the organ in the theater when he's by himself and Sam is sneaking up on him. And Kristen and I both had the same thought. We thought at first that he was playing Phantom of the Opera. And I actually, because that was on the sign outside the theater, that's what was playing at the theater.
That's right, yeah.
And so I was like, oh, well, he's practicing or something. But then I started listening to it, and I actually wrote down in my notes Phantom of the Opera.
Mm-hmm.
But then I was listening to him playing, and I was like, I know Phantom of the Opera, and this isn't in it. Like, I've seen it before, and I know this isn't in there. And for some reason in the back of my head, I was thinking about Fantasia. Disney Fantasia out in like 1940 or
Which I
something
haven't
that I grew up
seen.
with. Oh, man. I had it on VHS when I was little and watched it a lot. I can tell you all the different segments and what the songs were. It was great. And this was the song in Fantasia that was the very first one. And it's like, you know, they do little animations to go along with each song.
Mm-hmm.
And this one was totally abstract. It was kind of like interpretive animation, which is really cool
That
and
is really
explorative of Disney.
Yeah.
So it's just a bunch of like lines and colors and all these different effects that they're doing with the animation to kind of like go along with the song.
It's amazing.
I know, it was really cool. But anyway, this is...
It's like the original Pink Floyd, like, light show.
Yes! For 6-year-olds.
Yes, exactly.
And I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
So it was Toccata and I think it's Fugue in D minor. And we have a little clip here.
Okay, I feel like that's the most badass thing we've ever played on this podcast.
It's so cool.
It's so awesome. What the hell?
Bach was a genius.
I'm just gonna be bumping that into my car from now on the way to
Someone pulls
work.
up to you and you're like wearing all black and look over at them and it's
With
like
a cape.
I love it.
Oh man,
I know, it's pretty fucking awesome.
it is.
It's also a 9-minute and 20-minute song. I mean 20-second. It's like 9 minutes long. So that's the first minute.
Which is as long as any other classic rock song anyway.
That's true. Yeah. You're going to listen to a 7-minute Led Zeppelin song or a 9-minute Bach, you
Right.
know. So yeah, that's all we had for music. And then, like I said, all the music throughout the episode was very different because it wasn't like, you know, sometimes it doesn't seem like there's really any.
Yeah.
If it's a very serious episode, or we'll just have kind of like some typical score music in the background. But this was like kind of campy and like matched the mood and everything.
Yeah, it was like the music was its own character in the episode.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Okay, anything else we want to talk about before we get into episode deets?
No, I mean, I do, I guess, just want to mention, I should probably mention at the top that we did find out in like the last week or so that season 15 is officially the final season of Supernatural.
Yes.
So I just thought, you know, we'd address it.
We'll take a moment of silence.
Just play the fugue again. The fugue way.
Yeah. Let's take this moment to remember.
But it's been really like cute, like seeing everyone's responses on Twitter, and everyone's going through a pretty rough patch at the moment. But also, you know, it provides us with an understanding of what this podcast is going to be.
Yeah, it's been open-ended since we started. It's already an extremely long-running show.
Yeah.
It's pretty unheard of for most shows do not last 15 seasons.
No, not at all. But it's
even very popular ones
so
are
clear
short.
that it's because of the Supernatural fandom. You know?
Yeah.
So I don't know. Just wanted to put it out there. We've heard, and but we're excited, to get to those seasons and see what happens, like how they end it. I don't know. It'll be really interesting to see their choice with that.
Yeah, we've still got a lot left. We'll be here a while.
Oh yeah, we're just at the beginning, really. We're like not even a third way through.
Yeah, no.
At this point.
It's true. We're not even a third of the way through.
Yeah.
That's so crazy.
I know.
Well, it's been fun. So yeah, we're gonna keep it going. Okay. Well, this episode starts out very differently. We don't get a then and now segment.
Yeah.
It just opens right up, and it's kind of like an old-timey, like old movie opening where we've got everybody's names up on the screen.
Yes.
With
It's
a
like
still background.
like an overture.
Yes.
Playing, which I just learned recently. Fun fact for anybody who is a nerd like me, that the reason why these movies had these really long overtures is because they didn't have like ads or commercials, and they didn't have trailers like playing right before the movie, so that was their way of kind of like getting people to settle in, grab their popcorn and soda like really quickly.
That makes sense. Everybody get your
drinks.
Yeah, get your snacks.
And sit down.
Take a seat.
Yeah. So
silence your phones.
So this is Supernatural doing that, settle up because we're about to go on a crazy ride.
I love that. It's also in black and white.
The entire episode.
The whole episode.
I love it.
Me too.
I love it so much.
And it was used to great effect. They did a good job with the contrast and everything.
Yes.
It was great. So our first shot is that we open to a shot of the moon. So it's at night, and there's a very spooky looking road that's got some like smoke or fog coming across the road. We see the Impala drive around the corner, and the guys pass a sign that says Pennsylvania, but the lightning flashes, and for a second it says Transylvania.
It's so clever.
And the music is really foreboding, and it's kind of like dun 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 dun.
Yeah.
And then we cut into the car with Sam and Dean, and Dean's like, "This radio sucks," and turns off the foreboding music.
So Pennsylvania just plays that kind of music, I guess, the radio stations, which is hilarious.
It is hilarious. So they start talking, and Dean's like super excited about this case that they're on. A vampire has killed someone, and he's all about it. He's just really obviously enjoying that they have a straightforward case for the first time in a long time.
Yeah.
He's like, no angels, no nothing crazy. We just have a good old-fashioned monster hunt. And but Sam's not so into it. He's distracted by all the other stuff that they've been dealing with lately. Just a lot of, big shit that's going on. And so he's a little bit of a wet blanket, but Dean's still stoked.
Yeah, I mean, I get it, though, because they're supposed to be... We've learned that the apocalypse is happening by this point,
By the way.
Yeah, even if this was filmed for episode 3, like, I think in the previous episode before that, Castiel had mentioned, like, there are big cosmic battles happening,
Yes.
So we had learned that.
Yeah, so while Dean's all excited about, like, hunting a vampire, Sam's like, there are cosmic battles happening.
Exactly. Remember what Castiel said.
So next we see Oktoberfest. We get some polka going. And we cut over to the guys, and they're dressed as in suits as FBI agents.
They look great.
Yes, they do.
In their suits and in black and white.
I'm glad that they were agents in the black and white episode. Like, that's a good look for them.
Yeah. Instead of that stupid leather jacket.
Yeah, and they're not like priests or something.
It's
actually like super attractive. So they're talking, and I guess, what was it? Dean's like, oh, we need to see the new Raiders movie. And Sam's like, I already saw it. And he's like, what? You saw it without me?
He's like, you were dead.
It's like, so? Still.
Yeah.
And then they're standing there for a second, and Dean looks up and he goes, big pretzel.
He's so excited.
I know, it's so cute. And Sam looks after him, and he just kind of like smiles and laughs to himself.
Yeah.
Like, he's so glad Dean's
Oh,
back.
Dean.
Yeah.
Classic Dean.
Well, he loves a big pretzel.
Yeah.
So he walks over to him, and Dean hands him a big pretzel, and he takes a huge bite. And as he's eating, this really pretty blonde woman in a dirndl walks by and says, Guten Tag. Dean's eyes get real wide and he goes, Guten Tag yourself.
I did love that line, yeah.
So then they look up and they see the sheriff talking to a couple of people and they're like, oh, there's our guy. So they go over to talk to him and they introduce themselves as Angus and Young. Angus Young is the lead guitarist of AC/DC.
Okay.
And he's the only original member of the band who's stayed in the entire time.
Wow.
Yeah. So the sheriff takes them to the morgue and shows them the body of Marissa Wright, 26, who has bite marks on her neck.
Mm-hmm.
So it took me a second to realize why they were like, because they look down at it and they're like, what the fuck?
Yeah, you have to remember
the vampires don't actually do that.
Lore. Yeah.
Right. But this isn't an actual vampire thing. So
Mm-hmm.
even though vampires are real, they don't leave the 2 little bite marks on the neck like what was in old movies.
Right.
So
I love that.
Cool. Yeah. So they're looking at each other like, what?
What the fuck is going on here?
Yeah. And I kind of liked this line. The sheriff is talking to them and he's like, well, this is the last thing this town needed. You know, it's peak tourist season. And Sam's like, well, it's the last thing Marissa Wright needed.
Yeah,
you know,
fuck you.
Yeah, you jerk.
He's basically like the Jaws mayor, I think.
Yeah.
You know, like, who cares? Don't tell him about the sharks,
Yeah,
you know?
Let him go swimming, jerks.
But I do love this next line from the sheriff.
What did he say?
Oh
yeah, you can say it.
Like, oh, that somebody, the person who did it is probably some Satan worshipping Anne Rice reading psycho.
Gothic psycho wannabe.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, so he's describing me now.
You said that and I was like, oh, it's Kristen.
Yeah.
She loves Anne Rice.
Yeah, I do. I don't love Satan in particular, but I do love Anne Rice.
So funny. And they're kind of like, haha, yeah, okay. So they ask if there were any witnesses, and the sheriff says, unfortunately, yes, Ed Brewer. But he basically says he's not very reliable, and good luck with that.
Yeah.
So Sam and Dean go to one of the bars at Oktoberfest, and there's more polka playing in the background. They walk up to the bar, and the pretty blonde girl from earlier is bartending. And she says to Dean, I remember you. And Dean says, and I remember you. I never forget a pretty everything.
I know. And he's like looking at her boobs this entire time. And I'm like, oh, Dean, you're being gross again.
It's so weird because he's borderline gross and borderline so cute.
Yeah.
Because I'd be like, oh, thank you.
And later on, he's like very sweet to her.
Yeah, he totally is.
Yeah.
But he's just such a horn dog. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So they show Jamie. You will find out her name is Jamie. They show her their FBI badges, and she's super skeptical of Dean being an FBI agent. She's like, you're Fed. She's like, you don't come off like a Fed. And then he says, I'm a maverick, ma'am. One thing I don't play by, the rules.
He's so full of shit.
Just like Pee-wee.
Oh, yeah.
So I have a little clip here as well. This is when he said this, I was like, oh, I've heard this before.
This sounds familiar.
There's a lot of things about me you don't know anything about, Daddy. Things you wouldn't understand. Things you couldn't understand. Things you shouldn't understand.
I don't understand.
You don't want to get mixed up with a guy like me. I'm a loner, Daddy. A rebel.
I love Pee-wee so much.
Me too.
Great. That has to be the best part of the
Things
movie.
you shouldn't understand.
I'm a rebel. Daddy.
She's like, I don't understand. Oh, so good. So yeah, that was Dean. And she's like, okay. So they ask if they can talk to Ed. And at first she's kind of like, what do you want with Ed? But, you know, they tell her that he's a witness, blah, blah, blah. So she obviously points him out. And they go over to Ed's table. And he's a weird dude. He drinks funny. He's like drinking out of this giant, like 2-foot tall stein.
I know. Oh, I should have brought mine because now I have one like that.
Yeah, you've got a stein.
Yeah.
A stein.
But he did look suspiciously like Professor Moody drinking the Polyjuice potion.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
I thought he was going to be the
Me
guy.
too.
You
I did
know?
too. Like right from the beginning, I was like, because his story's so weird, and I don't know, it just didn't seem right.
Yeah.
So he like drinks really funny and like wipes his whole face with his hand, and he's just got strange like mannerisms. But he tells them the story that he was walking home and saw a couple, and he thought that they were kissing, but then she was struggling too much. And he looked closer, and the man was biting her neck. And they were like, "Can you describe him?" And he goes, "He was a vampire." And they were like, "A vampire? How do you know?" And he was like, "Oh yeah, he was wearing the cape, the slick back hair. He had the little medallion, on the cape, on like the ribbon. He was Dracula, and he had an accent." And they were like, "What?" And they were like, "What did he say?" And he says something like, "Mortal."
Yeah, he does like
the
the
night
accent
is mine.
perfectly. Like a vampire.
And they're like, "Okay, nice talking to you." We cut over to Jamie behind the bar, and she's talking with her fellow bartender, Lucy. And Lucy's like, "Oh, he's got a crush on you." And she's like, "Oh, well, you're just saying that because he tips me in 20s or something." And he comes over every night. So then Dean comes over and he orders a beer, and he and Sam are talking, and they just decide that this isn't their kind of case because they're like, okay, someone's just fucking with us. But Dean's still into it. He's like, "So, our room is paid for. We've got beer, bar wenches." And that was pretty funny.
Yeah. I mean, Sam was not for Dean calling them bar wenches. But of course, Dean proved him wrong.
He does.
Yeah.
He does it anyway.
Shouts at Jamie, "Wench!" Another one. Kind of like Thor.
Yeah. Another. She's like, "Yes, sir."
He's like, "See?"
So that was kind of cute, and she wasn't too bothered by it.
No.
But Sam's all about like, respecting women. So let's see. Okay, so then Jamie comes over and brings the beer, and Dean asks her out, and he's like, "When do you get off work?" And she's like, "Huh, you're funny." And like walks away. So it's so obvious that Dean's like lusting after her. And this is where he's telling Sam, like, "Look, man, I came back without any of my old scars. I don't have any like fingers that are crooked from getting broken. Like, I'm fresh."
He was just born.
He's rehymenated.
Yes.
Whatever the fuck that means.
And I just love like the logic almost makes sense, Like
Yeah.
just following his logic. It's like, okay, I can see what he's saying here.
Sure.
But obviously he's been thinking about this quite a bit.
Yeah, I guess he's hurting or something. It's been a while. So we were just kind of like, okay.
Yeah. And I was like, but Dean, you don't want to like find someone special to take it away?
Right. I know. I was like, wow, he really doesn't care about his virginity. Yeah. Like, he's not trying to keep it.
No.
So Sam takes off because he's like, all right, have fun. And Dean tries again with Jamie to ask her out. And she's like, well, I'm having a girls' night tonight with Lucy. And also, I don't go out with anyone like the first time that I meet them, which is cool. She's got standards.
Smart.
Like,
and she's a bartender. She needs to be careful.
Totally. And he's like, all right, fine. So then we cut to a couple making out in a car. And this is so gross.
This upset me so much.
It's disgusting.
He got what he deserved.
I mean, it's definitely a better ending, in my opinion.
Yeah. Because they're like making out. And he obviously wants to go a little bit. He wants to...
all the way.
Yeah. He wants to deflower himself. And she's like, no, And then he says like, I told you what can happen if a man doesn't get it out of his system.
It backs up and bad things happen. That's gross.
Ugh.
And not true.
And no.
Sleazy.
Terrible.
This poor girl.
I know.
So, yeah, it really grossed me out. And I was like, oh, no, thank you. So outside the car, we hear some kind of like growling and some wolf wooing. And then we see some hairy hands with claws like reaching toward the car from off camera.
Yeah.
And the girl's like, did you hear that? And he's like, there are no wolves in Pennsylvania. And then suddenly something smashes through his car window and grabs him. The two hands just reach around his neck. And she starts screaming, and then the scene cuts.
I love it because I mean, I haven't seen the original Wolfmans, but I've seen like
Wolfmen.
shots. Yeah, the original Wolfman movies. But I've seen like I think gifs of this, you know, and it's exactly like that. Like they
Yes.
recreated it perfectly.
Yeah, totally. They had a lot of funny like methods in the old movies of like creating suspense
With the special
with
effects
monsters,
and everything.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
seeing hands off camera. Like you can't see the body, but it's just the hands in the shot.
Yeah. Or like because I have seen the original Dracula and I love it, and it has a lot of like his shadow,
Yeah.
you know, so it's like building up that suspense by
Suggesting.
not showing like the monster or the full monster, kind of like the wolf hands. It's like building up the suspense by seeing just his shadow
That's
lurking
cool.
in the background.
I like it. So then we cut to the girl drinking a giant soda like a toddler. Like she's got both hands wrapped around this huge cup. And she's like slurping it, and it seems like there's hardly any left because she's just like,
Yeah. I don't know if she was supposed to be in high school or something. I don't know.
She's just acting like she's 5.
Yeah.
And Sam and Dean are sitting across from her at this table outside and asking her questions. And she tells them, they're like, well, can you describe it? And she's like, oh, it was a werewolf.
Just very seriously
Yeah. And
and
they're like,
matter
what?
of factly.
She's like, yeah, it was a werewolf. You know, furry face, black nose, claws, and had torn up clothes like from the old movies. And they're like, okay. Thank you for your time.
You're crazy. Bye.
Yeah. So then they go back to the morgue to look at the guy's remains, the disgusting dude who was trying to get it on. His name was Rick. And there's very little left. It's a flat bag. That body bag is
Gross.
like empty. Yeah, so there's just like little bits in there. So Sam's like picking through it, and they say that whatever killed him was super strong. Like they went through the bone, and they're like, well, it looks like it could be a werewolf. And Sam's like, but wait, it left the heart behind, and werewolves never do that. So once again, it's not following the actual supernatural world rules of this creature that it's supposed to be.
It's so smart.
Yeah, so then Dean asks what the hell's going on, and the sheriff walks in and says, I was hoping you boys could tell me. Just got results back from the lab, and the hairs we found on the body were canine. They're wolf hairs. And they're really like, what the fuck?
Yeah. This part was really interesting because right before they pull the body out, there's this beautiful shot of the morgue drawers.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like all the way backed out, so you see the whole entire wall, and then them like
They're 2 suits against it.
yeah. It was great. And then I also noticed at this point that they're using these like Star Wars scene swipes. That's what I call them. But
It's totally, yeah, where the whole like shot just like moves to the left.
yes, exactly. It just
Swipes
pushes it away. But yeah, throughout the entire episode. And so I don't remember those old movies well enough to remember if that's how they did their transitions as well.
I think it depended. Some of them, they were always clunky like that, right? Like some of them swiped, some of them closed in, like at the end.
Oh, yes.
Like on a central point, or it pulled out, like the same kind of effect, just the opposite.
Yeah.
I always think of Young Frankenstein.
Oh, I haven't seen it. I know. But with Gene Wilder, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good.
I know.
Oh my god.
I need to see it. I need to.
We have to watch it together. It's
Okay.
really funny, and you would love it. But they use a lot of those. It's kind of a parody on the old movies too. Kind of. It definitely is. So they use some of those transitions too. It's just, oh my god, it's so funny. And I thought about it a lot during this episode because it's just campy like that. It's making fun of like old movies in the same kind of way.
And hey, Frankenstein was the only monster we didn't get to see, and I was really hoping we would. You know,
that would have been fun. Yeah, there's kind of an ode to it at the end, but we don't get to see the monster.
Yeah.
So then we're back at the bar where Jamie works, and Dean and Sam are talking, and Dean says that werewolves don't grow wolf hair. That's just a myth. So what the heck?
That's right, because the girl from Heart,
Yep.
she was like, and we didn't like it. It was just, there's no hair.
It was weird.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
I totally forgot about that.
So they don't get wolf hair.
Mm-mm.
Then Jamie comes over and Dean says, he's like, well, the case just got weird enough for our department. So they're going to be staying a while. And Jamie brought 2 beers over and she says, well, the beers are on me. And also I get off work at midnight. And Dean's like, what? It's not another girls' night? And she goes, it doesn't have to be. He's like, well, okay then. So he takes her up on it and he's obviously really excited.
But also, what are they going to do at midnight?
I don't know. I mean, it was kind of funny because I had a couple of thoughts on that. Like when Ed is telling his story at the beginning, whenever the monster shows up, he says, I was leaving here, it was just after midnight. And I was walking home and cutting through the park, and that's when he saw the monster. And then tonight, when she sees the monster, it's just after midnight because she gets off at midnight.
Yes.
So I don't know if that's his witching hour.
I guess.
Which is kind of funny.
But like, why? I don't know.
Because the bar's not staying open till 2 or something.
Yeah. And it just seems like it's a small town. Yeah. And that's the only bar that's there. I mean,
what are they going to do in the middle of the night except bone?
Yeah, it's pretty clear that that's what's going to happen. So they both understand, okay, we're going to meet up here at 12 to bone. Just wanted to establish that. Just saying. I rest my case.
So then she walks away and Dean says, hey, you think this Dracula could turn into a bat? That'd be cool. And then he takes a huge drink of beer and gets foam all over his face. Yeah.
We linger on that for just a second and then he's white.
He's so cute.
Yeah.
He just gets excited about the silliest little things. So then we cut to, it's like a shipping warehouse. There's a security guard on his cell phone and he's talking to someone trying to figure out where this unknown package came from and where it's going. He's got it on a table and it looks like an old Egyptian sarcophagus. And he says that it just showed up on the dock. While he's talking, the lid comes off of the sarcophagus behind him and smoke comes out, rolling out of the top of it, and a mummy rises from it, just like an old movie monster. It just stands straight up out of it.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it's awesome. The guard turns around and sees it, drops his phone and starts screaming. He tries shooting it, but it does nothing. Note that. And then the mummy keeps shuffling over and it strangles him to death.
I'm noting it. I'm processing
I'll come back to that.
Okay.
So, sorry, security guard, that was lame. Also, it was just like the old movies. It was moving really slow. You could have just run away.
I know. Instead, he's like shooting at it
and just backing up against a wall and screaming.
By this time, he's seen Brendan Fraser's The Mummy. He knows that doesn't work.
It's already come out by now.
Yeah. Come on, get it together.
So, at the crime scene later, Sam and Dean are there with police and they're checking things out. And Sam's looking at the sarcophagus and sees a name of a prop house on it that's in Philly. Dean pulls a little bucket of dry ice out of it as well. And they're like, what the hell, man?
It's the smallest bucket also.
So tiny.
You know, like it's clear, I don't know. There should have been more.
There was a lot of
smoke.
Yeah. Hilarious. And so Sam's like, this mummy's making his own special effects. This is stupid.
I like it. I agree, Sam. It is stupid.
It is stupid. This is stupid. And so then Dean realizes that he's late meeting Jamie. So Sam's like, okay, it's fine. I got this because it's ridiculous. So Dean just takes off. We cut to Jamie and she's waiting outside the bar for him. And it's obvious she's been waiting a little bit because I guess he was running late. And just as she gives up on him and starts walking away, she hears like a fluttering behind her and turns around and sees Dracula.
Yeah.
Good evening. And she's like, oh shit, and runs away. And he takes off after her. He chases her into this dead end. It's like the end of the alley. So he corners her and he starts saying that he's watched her for many nights. And he calls her Mina. And he starts walking closer to her and she's like digging in her purse. And he gets close and she pulls out pepper spray and sprays him in the face because she's a bad bitch.
Yeah. And that's when he breaks his character, I think, right?
And he goes, son of a... And then he kind of recovers and she'd run off, so he runs after her again. As she's running, Dean comes around the corner and Jamie just gets behind him. And then Dracula shows up and Dean looks at him and goes, Son of a bitch.
Yeah, this is where we get it.
Son of a bitch.
He's like, what the hell? And then Dracula says some silly shit. And Dean's like, okay.
Okay,
Punches
buddy.
him in the face.
He's not taking this at all.
No. So then they start fighting. Dean tells Jamie to run, so she takes off, and Dracula pins him against a wall. Dean's trying to get free, but he's really strong, and it doesn't seem like he's able to. So he reaches up, grabs his ear, and pulls it off.
Mm-hmm. It's gross.
It was real nasty.
And it's like, oh...
I know, it's kind of like jelly looking.
Yeah.
And so then Dracula like snarls and he runs away. And Dean's like, what? Looking at this ear. So he runs after him, but then Dracula like hops over this really tall gate and drops to the ground on the other side. And Dean's looking on the other side of the gate. And Dracula gets on a little bitty scooter and like scoots away. And he goes, beep, beep.
Yeah, it's like a little Vespa that just speeds away. And like right before the scene swipe, it's just like, and we're on Dean's face. It's weird.
It's like, what? Oh, that was too
It's
funny. Like seeing Dracula
ridiculous.
like with his cape flowing behind him on this little bitty.
Yeah.
I loved it.
It was great.
Intermission.
Oh yeah, we get a little intermission here. I was just gonna say, like, I think it's I wondered I got a little confused because at the end, Dracula, this shapeshifter, he's saying that Dracula is his favorite and he connects with him the most. But it's interesting that we do see him turn into the mummy and then into
The werewolf.
the werewolf as
Wolfman.
well.
Mhm.
So I don't know.
Just trying him out, I guess.
I guess so. Because he just says, like, Dracula was the one. He loved all the monster movies.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I think he says, I'm all monsters.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I guess he, like, maybe that's his favorite, but he's just kind of like, I am monsters.
Yeah. So I'll do some other ones as well. And in this next part, which you're going to get to, Dean doesn't know about Dracula?
What a weirdo.
Come on. He didn't recognize the name Mina? And he should have seen the Gary Oldman version at least.
Yeah.
You know, like, that
Yeah.
seems very up his alley.
Yeah, it does. He's just uneducated. He's uncultured.
Come on. Get it together. And you weren't the one, was it Taylor was the one who, like, read and took a Dracula class?
Yeah, it wasn't me.
Okay.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That sounds like it would have been fun.
I know. I was like, fuck.
That's cool. I want to do that.
I'm jealous.
Yeah. So yeah, so back at the bar where Jamie works, I guess Jamie has a key, obviously, since she was closing. So they're back in there having a drink, and Sam shows up. Dean shows him the ear that he ripped off of Dracula and tells Sam to touch it. And Sam's like, what?
No.
And then he's like, yeah, do it. So he touches it, and then Sam's face totally changes, and he goes, oh, man. And Dean's like, yeah, feel familiar? It's the skin of a shapeshifter.
Which is...
But this one's all new buckets of crazy.
But yeah, the skin of a shapeshifter feels very particular.
I guess like jelly.
Oh, gross.
Yeah.
But that's interesting. I don't think we realized that before.
Yeah, they didn't ever talk about how it felt, but it does match the way that it looked before.
Mm-hmm.
It's just kind of like I don't know,
Gross.
squidgy.
Yeah.
So Dean shows him he had ripped off the ribbon that was on Dracula as well. And he shows him the ribbon, and on it is a tag for a prop house. And so, like, in this part, Jamie's like, oh, so what are you guys, like Mulder and Scully or something? So, and then she brings up, she's like, wait a second, why did he call me Mina? And Dean's like, oh, yeah, and he called me Harker. And Sam's like, oh, well.
Sam's the nerd in this scenario.
Let me tell you.
Come on.
Those are characters from the movies and novels. Mina is Dracula's intended bride, and Harker is her fiancé who's standing in the way. And Dracula dude is apparently, it seems like he's fixating on Jamie. And they're like, okay, so for him to be able to do that, they ask her if anyone's been taking more notice of her lately or been hanging around and maybe they're new to town. And at first she's like, guys, I'm a bartender. It's Oktoberfest. Like, I don't know. Which is totally valid. Like,
yeah.
You probably get a lot of regulars who show up from time to time, they're new and stick around for a while. And then she's like, wait a second, but there is Ed. Lucy says he has a crush on me, and he comes in almost every night. And she says that he works at the old movie theater. And they're like, okay.
That's a lot of clues.
Yeah, that's all we needed. So Sam says to Dean, take care of Mina? And he's like, yep.
I know. And this is totally Dean's episode, because the last time we had this kind of same scenario where there was like a girl, it was Sam who was staying with the girl from Heart.
Yeah.
And Dean was handling the case.
Yeah, that's true.
But this time it's like, I don't even think we really know where Sam's at this point.
Mm-hmm.
He's just chasing off after. No, just kidding. We go see him with Ed.
Yeah, they go over there. But yeah, he's just like, I got this. Which I thought was kind of interesting too, because the last couple times that they faced a shapeshifter, it was really hard.
It was.
Like they almost died.
And
Other people did die. It was a
Resnick
big deal.
died?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was a little surprised that they weren't like, oh, fuck, this could be a bad
And also
thing.
let's stick together because he can turn
Exactly.
into us.
Yes. How do you know? How can you trust anybody? So that was a little interesting, but I guess they were kind of like, he's a weirdo.
Yeah, he has a fixation on monster images, so he won't be trying those tricks with us.
Yeah. I don't know. So let's see. So then Sam takes off to go check it out, and Dean stays with Jamie. And they're talking about how some monsters are real. And Jamie's kind of trying to wrap her head around all of this. She's like, wait a second. Some monsters are real? And Dean's like, some of them. And she's like, you're not really FBI, are you? And he's like, no, not exactly. And then I really like her. She gets into what she thinks about what they do. And she's like, so this is what you do? You and your partner tramp across the country until you find some horrible nightmare to fight? Dean's like, some people paint. She goes, wow, that must suck.
Yeah. She's not impressed with it.
No. She's like, giving up your life for this terrible responsibility. So she kind of immediately understands something that they've been struggling with for a long time.
Yeah, and they just see it as normal. That's their job. That's the family business.
But they still struggle with it. It's really kind of deep of her. Like she gets it.
Yeah.
So then Dean opens up to her, and I really liked everything that he said. He just got real honest, which is so unlike him.
Yeah.
Like maybe he's changed a little bit since coming back.
Probably. But it's also, he's still keeping the crazier aspects of the story kind of under wraps, because he's like, it's kind of like a mission from God.
Yeah.
Not like
it's
a mission from God.
And also, I didn't die and come back.
Yeah. But he's also not using it to impress her.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
He's just talking about himself and his feelings.
Yeah.
So he says that he had started thinking that way, like everything sucked in the last few years, but that was before he had a very near-death experience. And that when he came to, things were different. He realized that he helps people, that he doesn't just help them, but he saves them. And it's awesome. He says it's awesome.
Yeah.
And he says it's like a gift, like a mission from God. So this is where Blues Brothers comes in.
First you trade the Cadillac for a microphone. Then you lie to me about the band. Now you're gonna put me right back in the joint.
They're not gonna catch us. We're on a mission from God.
We're on a mission from God.
Can't be accidental.
I love it. And that's if you've seen Blues Brothers, he says that throughout the entire movie.
Okay.
Whatever they're doing, they get into trouble and he's like, no, we're on a mission from God. It's so great. So she's like, so does that make you some kind of monk or something? You know, celibate. And Dean's like, man, I hope not.
And they kiss.
They're making out.
Some weird, very good kissing.
It's hot. It looks good.
Yeah.
I like it.
I like it too.
And then the light turns on. And Lucy's there, butt out.
Bye, Lucy. Busy. Why would she be like, oh, sorry, guys, didn't see you there? I'd be like, bye.
Yeah, well, we're here, so turn the light off.
Right.
You can leave now.
But maybe Jamie gets nervous or something because
I think she's too nice. I don't know.
Yeah, she invites her to stay for a drink.
And Dean's like, okay, cool. Thanks. Great. So then we cut to the old movie theater, and Ed's playing that Bach song.
Yeah. Which I had written down as Phantom of the Opera.
I did too, and I changed it. Had to change it.
But we're seeing just his shadow, right?
Yes.
It's really cool.
It is really cool. So you can't tell because we think it's him, honestly. Like, I did think it was him, and I didn't know what form he was in. So it was like, oh, if we're just seeing a shadow, what does he actually look like?
Now? You almost expected, like, it to be Dracula on the organ or something.
Or the Phantom in Phantom of the Opera, because I thought that's what he was playing, but it wasn't.
Right, but also, not on the organ, on the Casio.
Oh, yeah. I just like to play the Casio.
Yeah.
So Sam sneaks up on him while he's playing, and then as he gets closer, he's like got his gun drawn like behind him, and as he gets closer, he starts playing this little like jig instead on the Casio. It sounds like fucking elevator music.
Yeah.
It's so funny. So then he grabs him and turns him around, and he's like yelling, and he's like, "What are you doing? You know, I just like to play the Casio." And Sam tries to rip his ear off, and it's not coming off.
No.
And he goes, "It's supposed to come off." And he goes, "No, it's not." It's really not.
What is that show or movie where someone is trying to like rip off someone's like wig? Oh, Austin Powers.
Yes.
Yes, it's like that moment where he's trying to like rip off an old woman's wig.
Oh. She's
yelling at him, "Stop it! It's exactly that.
That's really funny. I think I've seen that in a couple of other things too. I'm trying to remember what I've seen it in. Anyway. So then we cut back to Dean, and they're talking to Lucy, and Jamie sounds super drunk all of a sudden. Like, she just sounds wasted. And like while she's talking, she basically starts to fall asleep sitting up. And Dean looks at her and he's like, "Jamie, like, are you okay?"
Yeah, that was me after I accidentally mixed Dramamine and a fishbowl in New Orleans.
Ooh, girl, that sounds like a bad combination.
That was me.
Night. And then face in fishbowl.
Right.
So, Lucy's got this habit of blotting her lipstick on a napkin. And so she blots her lipstick and puts it on the table. And I have a question about that.
I have a question too.
Okay, I'm going to ask in a second. So all of a sudden, Dean's vision starts spinning. And he realizes Lucy's drugged them. He looks up at her and punches her in the face from across the table.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
It's awesome. And also, he punches her hard enough where he dislocates her jaw.
Yeah. Yeah. So he goes over to her and she's on the floor and he says, "It's you, isn't it?" And she looks up and her jaw is like misaligned. It's like, it's off.
It's, disgusting.
Oh, and she just pops it back into place. And so then he's like trying to kick her ass, but he's passing out at the same time. So he just falls on his face instead.
Yeah.
So it's totally Lucy. Lipstick on the napkin. Do shapeshifters need something from that person or something to be able to turn into them? And then I thought, well, no, maybe they don't because he's just taking the shape of these old monsters. I don't understand really.
So
what's the point of that?
Several things. I don't know what the point of that is. And I don't think that we've seen the need for them to take an object, to touch something of theirs before they turn into that person. But also, he's turning into, because he later talks about her. He has a picture of her. And she's supposed to be an actress from like the 20s or 30s from these monster movies, right?
Ooh, I maybe missed that.
I think he says that.
He may have.
And that he, she never got great attention, but she was a really great actress. But the fact that she didn't get great attention is good for him because he's able to pass as her.
He's able to be here and no one recognizes her.
Right. So
crazy.
I don't understand the need for the napkin thing.
I don't know. Maybe it was something she did.
We lingered on it in the beginning when Sam like picked it up and like looked at it like. And also he gave this like look like that could only be interpreted as like ew, who the fuck would leave their napkin here with their
Mhm.
lipstick, you know?
Yeah, he's grossed out.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like there's some significance there, but I can't tell what it is.
I'll find that.
Okay, we'll do a little research. So, then we go to this dude's secret lair.
Yes.
Secret lair. And Dean is in lederhosen and strapped to a table.
So we don't really get any sort of like reason why he's in lederhosen.
And obviously when he was passed out, Dracula dressed him up.
Yeah. Undressed him and then dressed him back. So I don't know.
Buffalo Bill.
He doesn't do that with Mina. He asks her to put on the dress. So he's very respectful of her boundaries, but of Dean's, not at all.
That's so true. Yeah. So Dean's strapped to this table, and it's kind of like propped up at an angle, like in Frankenstein's lab. And it looks like that. So I just kept thinking of Young Frankenstein. Dean looks over and sees a framed portrait of Lucy. And Dracula comes in as Dracula. And he looks over and he says, "Beautiful, isn't she?" So this is when he's talking about Lucy and how he had taken on her form.
Mm-hmm.
Dean starts to insult him and says he's not Dracula. And he comes over and he just punches Dean in the face. And this is where he says, "I'm all monsters."
He's so offended.
Yeah, he's super offended. He's really pissed. And then Dean insults him again and he punches him again.
Which is why I chose her ship, her form, to move among the mortals unnoticed, to listen to the cricket songs of the living. That
After this.
is when I discovered my bride had been reborn in the century.
I can't get over what a pumpkin pie-eyed crazy son of a bitch you really are.
And then he gets punched.
Right.
I just love the way he talks like in Dracula's accent. It's so funny.
I know. It's so great.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the part, right, where he's talking about moving throughout time as her.
I thought it was before, whenever he was talking about her.
She's beautiful, no? Bride number 3 from the first film.
Mm-hmm.
She never got the acclaim that she deserved, which is why I chose her shape.
Oh,
her form.
okay. That's what I missed from the first film.
Yeah, to move among the mortals unnoticed.
Got it. That's cool.
Yeah, but again, why with the lipstick?
I don't know.
And I looked on Supernatural Wiki about shapeshifters, and it doesn't mention any sort of like...
Does she do that in the movie? I wonder if the woman character in the movie does that.
Maybe.
Ooh, now I want to watch it and see.
Yeah.
Anyway, just a thought. So then he starts basically waxing poetic about how grand the movies are and that they're basically better than real life. He tells Dean that they're in a monster movie, and Dean's like, "But you know what happens at the end of every monster movie? Like, basically, the monster gets killed."
Mm-hmm.
And Dracula's like, "Yes, but this is my movie." And then he goes over to reach for the switch to electrocute Dean, but he reaches for it so slowly. It's
Yeah.
hilarious.
But it's like, it's a pretty cool switch too. It's like that transmitter from like Rocky Horror.
Yeah, the huge, like, gonna throw the switch.
Yeah. But yeah, there's plenty of time for that pizza guy to
like
ring the
30
doorbell.
seconds or something. So long. And the whole time Dean's like, whoa, wait. And then the doorbell rings right before he's gonna get to it. Classic.
Mm-hmm.
So then Dracula goes upstairs and answers the door, and it's the pizza guy. And he's talking to the pizza guy in his accent, and he goes, "Is there garlic on this pizza?" And he's like, "I don't know. Did you order it with garlic?" And he goes, "No."
Like, dude, I just gotta go.
So, like, offended.
But also, like, he knows that garlic is usually on pizza, right? Like, he's just fucking around.
No.
Don't you see how I'm dressed?
Hilarious.
Uh-huh.
That was really funny. So then we cut over to Sam, and he's back at the bar. Dean's not around, and so he calls him to say that Ed's not their guy, But then he looks down and sees a broken beer bottle and a napkin with Lucy's lipstick and realizes what happened. So Jamie, we cut over to her, and she's in this very lavish Dracula's castle looking bedroom. And Dracula's there, and he asks her to put on this white gown. To dine, we're having pizza.
Yeah, that's a romantic dinner.
She's like, what?
And I do have a thought.
Yeah.
Maybe the only reason for having the lipstick on the napkin was that Sam would realize, oh, that's who's been the shapeshifter in the background.
Yeah, that's entirely possible, but this is my only issue with the entire episode is how did he know where to go?
I had that exact same issue.
Like, okay, you know it's Lucy, but did you know where she lived?
Literally wrote down, how did Sam know where to go?
How did you know?
There's no way.
Her address isn't written in lipstick.
No, it's not. It's not part of her DNA or her lip imprints.
Right.
So yeah, no, didn't compute.
No, it does not compute. But that's okay. We're rolling with it. Jamie's like, what is wrong with you? She's like, you dressed up like Lucy and pretended to be my friend. And she's really upset. And she says, he's like, put on the gown. And she's like, no, I don't want to play your stupid game. I just want to go home. And then he fucking flips out and goes, put on the gown.
Yeah.
Like screams at her.
Buffalo Bill style.
Buffalo Bill. I was like, oh my God.
Put on the lotion.
Yeah. Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oof. And he can really scream. It was really scary, actually. Like goosebumps. So then we cut over to Sam. He's breaking into Lucy's house. Again, how does he know how to get there?
Hey, I mean, we got Dracula in this. We got some crazy shit going on.
That's true. And then he sneaks in with his gun drawn. Cutting over to Dracula, he says in a normal voice, he's like talking in a normal voice, and he's like, I didn't mean to scare you. You're the only one I didn't want to scare.
Yeah. It's so sweet.
Yeah. And then he turns around and he goes, I just love the movies. She's like, but they're
real.
Yeah. And she's like, but they're not real. He says, no, being real is being born different. Having your dad call you monster. And it's the first time you've ever even heard the word. And then he tries to beat you to death with a shovel.
Oh my God. It's horrible.
Yep.
And this is the reason why I was surprised he wasn't more into Frankenstein, because I would have thought Frankenstein's monster would have been more fitting for him.
Yeah.
Because his dad literally turns away from him.
And he's his creator.
Yes.
Yeah. Good thought. So he says that everywhere he went throughout his life, people called him a freak and a monster and tried to kill him. Then he found the monsters in movies. They were strong, they were feared and beautiful, and now he's like them, commanding, terrifying. And Jamie says, lonely. And he says, was lonely. Now I have you.
Yeah.
And she says, did you ever think you were lonely because you kill people? And he says, or I kill people because I'm lonely.
Yeah. They're like playing a what came first kind of game.
It's kind of cute.
Yeah.
He's like, actually. And then there's a sound behind him, and he turns around, and Jamie starts yelling for Dean, and Dracula knocks her out. And he looks upset about it, like he didn't want to have to do that.
Yeah.
So Sam finds Dean strapped to the table and sets him free. And he says, hey there, Hansel. He's like, shut up. Hansel, he's so hot right now. They set off to find Dracula, and Sam kicks a door down to unlock it because it's locked. But the whole door comes unhinged and falls out of the frame.
Yeah, but it's so funny because like Dean's standing there so small compared to Sam in front of the door, and he just like kind of glances like upward at Sam, and he's like, were you gonna do something? Or because he clearly can't.
He's like, you're a giant.
Yeah.
Kick down this door.
Yeah.
They both sneak into the bedroom where Jamie's knocked out. And they come into the room, and Dracula comes up from behind and attacks Sam and calls him Van Helsing. Then he attacks Dean and calls him Harker again. Dean hits him and like throws him off. And they both look around and see Sam's gun on the floor behind Dracula. Dean tries to go for it, but they just end up fighting again. And as Dracula's about to go for Dean, like he's going for him, we see 2 shots go through Dracula from behind. And he pauses and looks down and says, "Silver?" So when he was shot before, it was just with regular bullets. It wasn't silver bullets.
Which makes sense. Why would the cop have like silver bullets?
Yeah, exactly. And that's why it didn't work, because he's a shapeshifter.
Yep.
Dracula turns around slowly and sees Jamie holding the gun. And he says, "Thus, beauty that killed the beast." And then he says, "Perhaps this is how the movie should end." And he sits down in a chair and gasps and dramatically dies.
Yeah.
And the camera closes in on him and it goes black.
And then that's it. That's all we get to see of him.
That
I
was
felt
good.
bad for him.
Me
But
too.
you know, he was too far gone by this point.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I mean, in a way, I felt bad for Buffalo Bill too, but the shapeshifter's still more sympathetic or something.
Yeah. I just watched Deadpool 2 yesterday. Finally.
Oh, you did? I haven't seen it yet.
It's great.
Yeah.
I loved it. I loved every moment of it. And yeah, there's a character there who kind of has the same struggles as Dracula here. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I need to see it. So, Dean and Jamie are kissing.
Making out.
They're like in the middle of Oktoberfest. So there's a kind of a crowd around and it's daytime.
Mm-hmm.
And Sam's just kind of patiently waiting behind Dean, like, heh. And they say this really sweet goodbye. And as Sam and Dean are walking away, she says, "You guys saved my life, you know, so thanks." And she walks away. And Sam goes, "I like her." Me too. I like her too.
I do like her.
And then they chat, and Dean says he kind of understands Dracula's reason for living his life like the movies. And Sam's like, "I know what movie you would pick to live your life like." And he's like, "No, you don't." He goes, "Yeah, I do." He goes, "No, you don't. You don't." And Sam goes, "Porky's 2. He's like, "What? You heard me." And Dean's like, "Lucky guess." And walks away. He's like, "Whatever."
It's so cute that Sam knows him so well, but also
Porky's 2.
Porky's 2. Really, Dean? Disgusting. I've seen Porky's 1.
I've never seen any of them.
It's just your typical, you know,
Horny dude
raunchy
movie.
late night 80s comedy,
Mm-hmm.
Revenge of the Nerds type, but also even more focused on sex than Revenge of the Nerds is.
Wow.
But I looked at Porky's 2 because I was curious to see why this one and not the first one, and it's just fucking crazy. Like, it has the Ku Klux Klan in it.
What?
Like, that's a major point in the movie. I guess the KKK are like the bad guys, I guess, in the movie.
What the fuck?
It's so weird. It's crazy.
That is so weird. Dean, you're fucking weird.
I know. It's a weird choice.
Not what I would pick, but
No.
okay.
No, not at all.
Ooh, what would yours be? I don't know what mine would be. Let me think. That's a good question.
For like a movie.
Yeah, that your life would be like.
I mean, I think the clear choice is Harry Potter, but if I didn't pick that, I don't know.
I mean, I agree with you. Wholeheartedly.
I don't know.
Because we're still waiting on our goddamn letter.
Yeah.
Fuck. Okay, so that's our episode. It was fun and good and got some good stuff out of it.
Yeah, we got 2 son of a bitches out of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a funny episode. I really appreciate it for doing something different.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's why I really enjoyed it, because they're taking chances and they're having fun with the format, and I love that. That's why I was like, yeah, it's a Joss Whedon-y episode, because he did that with Buffy, and my favorite episode ever from Buffy is that type of episode,
Mm-hmm.
where it's just like, it's not like any of the other episodes. So this one's kind of like that
Mm-hmm.
for me. But the ranking is, you know, I don't know that I would place it high up there. because
no,
of
I
that.
wouldn't either. Like, even though it was well done and it was fun, and I liked the cast, yeah,
Yeah.
it's not up there.
So I was kind of looking in between 24 and 26. Number 24 right now is A Very Supernatural Christmas. 25 is Sin City, and 26 is Born Under a Bad Sign.
Okay, so let me ask you. I see Tall Tales at 28.
Yes.
And that was a funny episode. I think I laughed more at that episode, to be honest. I think I just enjoyed it more as like as just like a whatever funny episode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then right underneath that is actually Ghostfacers, and actually Ben Edlund wrote Ghostfacers. Same writer.
That's funny. I feel like maybe it could be around there instead.
Okay. Did you feel like Ghostfacers was funnier than this one?
I don't know. What do you think?
Because I appreciate it more from the directing instead of like the funnies.
Mm-hmm.
But Ghostfacers was also just its own format as well.
Yeah,
it was doing
totally
something different. So that's hard. Kind of thinking about it, I think I would pick Ghostfacers over this one.
Yeah, I feel like maybe more went into Ghostfacers.
Yeah. And what I appreciate about it is we're seeing Sam and Dean from a different perspective.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I loved about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because we're like seeing them pull up to the scene and everything.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I could see it going under Ghostfacers as the new number 30 instead of Bad Day of Black Rock.
I agree with that assessment.
Okay. All right. Well, Monster Movie is going in at the new number 30. So this one's going in the trunk. Cool. All right. So y'all probably know where to find us by now, but just in case you don't, let me recap real quick. We have our blog at www.highwaytohellpodcast.com. As always, highway is HWY. You can find us on social media. Our handle is at Highway to Hell Podcast. You can also call us and leave a voicemail. Our phone number is 908-516-HELL, 908-516-4355. You can also email us at highwaytohellpodcast@gmail.com. You can also, like on any of our social media pages, you can DM us. We respond to all of that as well. Mm-hmm. We had someone recently who wanted to leave us like a voicemail, but it wasn't their favorite format because they felt like they would mess it up. So they recorded it and just sent it to us through email. You can totally do that. However you feel like communicating with us, that's totally fine.
Yeah,
at least you know where to reach us. And we like our mailbag minisodes. So, the more you send us, we'll have those every now and then and put them out and respond to y'all. And we can feature you on those episodes if you would like.
Yeah. And the next episode is Yellow Fever, which is going to be a fun episode. And cool. Christine and I are actually, we watched Yellow Fever together, and we're going to have that on the Patreon, that video reaction. So, a reaction video, however you say that. So, that should be really fun.
Yeah. And I guess that's about it.
Yeah.
Well, in that case, we'll see you on the highway to hell.
Bye.
Bye.